Welcome, my friends, to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm Deborah Deras, your host. Each week, you'll hear from top experts in the speaking industry who will share their insider secrets. Learn what works and what doesn't by hearing real stories of success and failure. My intention is to be your speaking coach to help you reach your goals faster and easier. I believe you are the messenger for the message. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. Welcome back to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. This is Deborah Deras, your host, and we have another amazing guest for you today. For over 15 years, Sheryl Bard is a hypnotherapist and motivational speaker for companies such as Northrop and the Clippers. She specializes in helping busy professionals, type A personalities, to be more confident, reduce fears, anxiety, and stress so that they can be more empowered to achieve both their personal and professional goals. Plus, Sheryl is one of my best friends, and I call her my angel. And I am just so happy that she could make the time to be here on the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. Welcome, Sheryl.
Hi, Deb. So nice to speak to you as always.
I know, you're so sweet. When you guys hear the show and the episode, you're going to want to repeat it because she's just got this sweetness about her. Every time you're around her, you're going to feel better. And that's why she helps people to get their fears and anxieties and stress out of the way so that you can be a paid speaker now. So, Sheryl, why don't you give us a little bit of the history of your backstory, how you became an entrepreneur, small business owner, and what was your path to get there?
Well, I started out back in 2003, working a 9-to-5 job and like most of America, right? And I just realized that I needed to do something I was more passionate about. So I decided that I don't know how I became, well, actually, hypnotherapy was a way that I could get into something that I had a passion for, and the way I got into that was a physical trainer had given me some hypnosis CDs and said, "Here, take these home. Tell me if they work or not." And I took them home, and I was listening to them, and I just ended up falling asleep. So I started really studying what hypnotherapy was, what it was supposed to feel like, and I just got so fascinated by it, and went back to school, became a behavioral hypnotherapist, and that was it. But then I hung up made my website, hung up my sign, got myself an office, and thought, okay, clients are just going to come. Didn't happen. So then I decided, okay, I think I have to get into some public speaking to be able to bring in these clients. And I started going to Toastmasters to learn how to do some public speaking, and started calling around different HR companies and offering my services as a speaker, and would have little speaking engagements so that I could start it out just to get more clients, and it worked beautifully. So that's how I got into it, really.
So you said something that's really appropriate, and I think everyone needs to really hear this and underline it, is that when you first get started as a business owner, it's not as soon as you get your business license and you get your business cards that suddenly the clients just automatically start coming because you paid your fees to the city, right?
Right,
there's
exactly.
there's marketing, there's attraction, there's getting people to know about you. And one of the things that you said you did that I know a lot of my clients have fear about is you picked up the phone and you called HR companies. So what did you say when you called these companies?
Well, I would call big companies, for example, like Northrop and the HR department, and I would say, hey, I do some public speaking, and I'd love to come in and speak to your company about, stress in the workplace, and, maybe start a wellness, like a wellness program at your company. And 9 times out of 10, they're looking for something like that. They're looking for something like that, or they'll have a wellness day that you can come in and speak, or, so there's no, at least get on the list of of HR for these big companies. That's a really good way to start. And maybe you need a little more practice before then. Like the way I started is I just went to just spoke anywhere I could for free at first, but I would make sure that I would have a form that everyone filled out, and I would have a check mark that would say, would you be interested in me coming to speak at your company? Or, would you like to have private sessions? I would have like a check mark of different things. Would you like to be on my email list? So you're asking permission to contact them, their companies, be put on your newsletter, whatever. So you're asking permission, and once they're motivated by what you said, they're checking off all of those, all those check marks, and very quickly you can start contacting their companies, contacting them, and become a public speaker, and you start getting paid for it.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because one of the things that I have in my Be a Paid Speaker Now online academy is this evaluation form. And in the evaluation form, it has everything that you were talking about. It's like, and the first question it says is, what did you love about Cheryl's speech today? So you start off with a good positive comment that you could use as a testimonial. And the
Right.
second one, where else would you refer Cheryl to speak? Name and phone number. And literally, that was how I got booked for paid engagements from my free engagements, because I was diligent about doing this evaluation form. I don't know about you, but I would raffle something off just to make sure that I would get it back, because otherwise people would be tired or they didn't want to do it, or the company usually had its own evaluation form. So I would give away like a $50 American Express credit card, something valuable, so that
Mm-hmm.
people really take the time. And those evaluations, those check sheets that you talked about, become your leads that you
Yes.
can
And
follow
you
up
got
with.
it when they're excited, right after you spoke to them. I mean, they're not going to do it after the fact. They're going to do it right at that moment. It's the only time you have. If you can't get that information at that moment, you've lost it.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people think, oh, well, I could just do an online form or have them do a Google survey or a Survey Monkey. No, you need to leave with those leads in your hot little hand, because that's money. You are leaving money on the table if you're not getting that information. So, first thing you did was you would call people. You weren't scared to call. But can you give people that are scared to get on the phone? Because I have a lot of people with phone phobia,
Right.
especially the new generation of people that don't use the phone at all, that are just, mostly texting. How do you help people have the courage to get on the phone with someone?
Oh, that was me for sure, and still is to a point. I mean, I'm very, very. It's very hard to get me to cold call and do things like that. But what I do is I tell myself that I'm going to find 10 no's today. So I'm going to call until I hear 10 no's. So what that does is it sets you up to expect, to be rejected, because a lot of times you're going to get rejected, but you don't stop until you get those 10 no's. And guess what happens when you're setting yourself up to call and to get 10 no's? Most of the time, somebody's going to say yes.
I love it.
So
So
that's
you
that's the way I get past it. And I know that it almost sounds like a little negative, but not really, because it helps you get past your rejection, your fear of rejection. So it's just like, okay, I'm expecting to hear a no, but I'm going to do my best to tell them what I do and how I can help you. I'm telling you, nobody even says no, so you're going to keep on going forever and ever until you hear 10 no's. You're probably going into a week later, because no one says no. They don't say no. They say, oh, well, let me put you on the list, or that sounds great, I would love to hear more about it, or they'll say, send me some information, things like that.
Because the fact is, and you probably know more about this than me because you're a human behavior expert, is people don't like to disappoint other people,
No,
right?
that's right. They don't like to say no. Nobody likes to say no.
They want to please people. For the most part, want to please people. They don't want to disappoint people, or they don't want to be rude. And I'd rather have people be honest and direct and say we're not looking, than just to say they're going to take my number and not take it. So I'm not saying I want people to lie to me, but for the most part, people. It's very rare that you're going to get somebody that's totally rude. They may blow you off, but they're not going to be like, no, you're an idiot. Why did you call? And I think that's the fear that people have, that they're
Right.
going to get humiliated or rejected or condemned. Where the truth is, they're just going to be um, getting an getting a maybe, we don't know, because they really, usually the person on the phone isn't the person that has the authority to know.
No, exactly.
But but if you are from a perspective of serving instead of from a perspective of selling, then you're helping them. And the more rapport you have with that person on the phone, the more likely they're going to pass on your information.
Right.
So, and then that's just the beginning. So, once you get the gig, then there's some people I know myself. I've been in front of huge audiences. My biggest one I ever was, it was like 1,500 people. And Stedman Graham, who's Oprah's boyfriend,
Oh
the
yeah.
breakfast was the breakfast keynote speaker, and I was the lunch keynote speaker. And they had gotten me a limo, and I had champagne, and it was just like the most I had ever received for a speaking engagement. I'm like, will I measure up? And I got so anxious. How do you help people get rid of that nervousness and that anxiousness?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. But, your primary goal is that you want to get in there and help people as much as you can. So you have to let go of your ego for one. So you want to be able to connect to your audience right away. You want to be able to, but it's actually by connecting with your audience, it actually helps you to get over your own nervousness. So the first thing you got to do is get out of your own way, forget your own ego and worrying about what other people are going to think of you, and focus on what can I do to help these people today. And the first thing you have to do that is get past their walls, because everyone has their own personal walls. And I don't know if anyone out there has already done some speaking engagements where you walk in the door and you see the people in the audience, they're looking at you with no smile, they got their arms crossed, they're looking at you very bored, and they're looking at you like, okay, entertain me. Like they just don't trust you. And that's, to me, the most intimidating part of walking in and speaking to a lot of people, a huge amount of people. So I've learned a lot of ways to get over those fear and that anxiety of walking in blindly and looking at your audience and seeing all those bored faces, because that makes you nervous right away. So what I do is I always make sure I get there really nice and early to the event, and I don't wait until they call me out on the stage. I stand out there and introduce myself to people when they come in the door. And I'll say, hi, my name is Sheryl. I'm one of the speakers today. Just want to say hello. Just do a little small talking. How was your trip here? Where did you come from? And get them on your side right away. And they're like, oh wow, this Sheryl, she's really nice. And so they're already liking you before they even see that you're up on stage. So that's my number one tip to do. So then the people that were the nicest to you and the ones that broke down the fastest, you want to look for those faces in the audience, and you want to concentrate on those people that are already looking at you smiling because they feel like they know you, they got some special attention from you, and they want you to do a good job because they like you. So right away that helps to take down walls of your audience. And then you're still going to have all those people that definitely are still have their walls up. So you just want to try to focus on the people that you did get a chance to speak to, and focus on their faces and their smiles, and they're looking at you like, I want you to succeed. And then you don't want to just go right into whatever subject you're talking about. You want to connect with your audience a little. So try connecting with those same people that were so receptive to you when you walked in the door, asking some questions, asking, how many of you came a long way for this today to come here and hear this speech today? How many people are excited? Just get the audience excited before you even start talking about your subject. Don't just go right into your subject, so you can find out what the mood is of the audience. And that right there helps you get comfortable. Plus, it helps with all the stragglers that are coming in late. And, because there's always a bunch that come in late, and you don't want them coming in after you've already started speaking, because then you almost feel like you have to stop and just start all over again. And then you really need to make sure that you do a lot of visualizing before you even go to your event. Visualize yourself doing all of that, visualizing yourself doing a really good job, and people coming up to you afterwards and telling you how much they liked what you spoke about today, and how much that you helped them. And that's the way you just focus on helping them instead of worrying about yourself and how you're coming off to the audience.
Wow, Cheryl, I'm taking so many notes. Okay. I just want to like break it down just so that everyone gets this. So the first thing we do is shift from us to like how can I help the people? Like the first thing in our mind when we walk into the event that it's
Yes.
not about me, but how I'm going to
How
serve
am
you.
I going to make my audience comfortable? Not me, the audience.
How am I gonna so shifting energy from from yourself to them. This is what I always say too, is like you don't want to have your energy on what are they gonna think of me and what am I gonna say, but how am I gonna help them? So you're and then you get there early. And I always say if you're not 2 hours early as a professional paid speaker, you're late.
Yes.
And I even like for events when I'm out of town, will do like sound checks if I can the night before, just so that I know and get to see the room the night before, just for
Yes.
that visualization. I could see where I'm standing, where they're sitting, and how it's going to be, and so I
Yes.
think the
You don't
getting
want
there
any
early.
surprises. No surprises.
Exactly. There will always be surprises because if anything can go wrong, it will. Like the
Right.
microphone won't work, PowerPoint won't work, but at least you can mitigate it by having that at least you know what the scene looks like and where you're going to stand and how it should be. And then
Right.
when you come in the door, getting to know them. And I love that you said that. One of the things that I always say to people is, these aren't my audience members; they're my friends. And so when I'm greeting people at the door, it's like I'm making friends. I'm making connections
Yes.
because then I'm not as scared because it's not like I'm talking to a group of strangers. Oh, I just met Mary and I just met Joe and I just met HR. And anytime, this is just a little trick of the trade that you can use their name in the
Yes.
presentation, they will love that. People love to hear their name, don't they, Cheryl?
Yes, they do, for sure. And when they're already open to you and wanting you to do a good job, you focus on those people and you're going to feel like you're just talking to your friends.
I loved how you said, look at the people that love you because there will be people in the audience, it happens every time, that are giving you either the look of death or they just look so bored or they're like texting on their phone, something like weird. And then you leave the stage, and those are the people that like absolutely love you. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I had an emergency from home. Or they're like, oh, you really made me think. So I was thinking that they hated it, but they were actually just processing, and that was their processing look.
Sometimes you can make it your goal to go and speak to the most bored person there while they're waiting. Just the ones that look the most bored when they walk in the door. Make it your goal to make at least one or two of those people your best friend.
Right. And what people need to know is people's perception of you and like first impression or whatever, or not even first impression, their presupposition of how you're going to be it's not the truth. It's based on what they've experienced before. Because I know when I speak a lot in Beverly Hills, and I had audience members saying, we weren't expecting much because of this or because of that, because I think they were charging very little for my workshop, and so they like we weren't expecting much, and then you gave it to us. So it's like sometimes people just don't have high expectations, or they've
And some
been.
people are forced to be there by their companies, or they don't even want to be there. So the more you can make them comfortable, the more you can connect with them so that they want you to do a good job and they want to hear what you're saying, the better.
And that's the difference when you decide about being a paid speaker of whether you're going to do big association events or if you're going to do gigs within companies. Because I know when I do bigs within companies, like oftentimes that they have to be here. It's part of their work, professional
Mm-hmm.
education. Where usually the association meetings, people are choosing to be there. Yes, they might be getting continuing education units, but they really want to be there, and it's such a different energy. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, it's
For
like
sure.
yeah, I prefer the audiences that want to be there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But you just have to assume. I always just assume every time I speak that there's going to be people there that don't want to be there. So I make sure that I make it a real focus to connect with the audience before I even get on the stage.
Exactly. And that's why also talking to people on the phone, like doing a pre-event questionnaire, I have created one of these and I coach people on it, that you're talking to at least three people on the phone before you even get there. So by the time you're there, they're like, oh my God, we heard so much about you. Because these people who are telling other people, oh, you can't miss this. This girl is great. Or this
Right.
guy is great. So what other tools do you have to help people that are maybe in front of an intimidating audience? I know
Yes.
my intimidating audience was when I was in front at Caltech, all postdoctoral students, and at GPL in front of all aerospace or rocket science. How do you get over that intimidation?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure you're really good at laughing at yourself and not making if you do mess up, you make a joke about it. Don't make your audience feel uncomfortable and feel sorry or feel bad for you if you're messing up. So you're going to mess up at least once. At least, I mean, you're really lucky if you've only messed up once in your speaking career. It's like we were talking about, there's always something that comes up that you're not expecting. Maybe the microphones aren't working or the speakers aren't working correctly, or you get that feedback or whatever is going on. You have to have some canned responses for those kind of things. How are you going to, think about that happening, and how you would recover from that, and how you do it with style, and how you do it with humor, because that really helps. The other thing is just not being too stiff with your what you're speaking about. You don't have to have everything written down word for word. I think that's a big mistake that speakers make. You have to know how you're going to start it, and you have to know how you're going to end it. Everything in between, you should only have bullet points, and it shouldn't be too scripted. It shouldn't be too, just connect with the audience. Don't try to memorize an entire speech. Just know how you're going to begin it with power and end it with power. And in between, just wing it. It goes way better than trying to script every single part of the. I mean, you and I just did it today. We talked about, okay, how are we going to start this? How are we going to end it?
Right.
Is it anything like we even talked about? Yeah, maybe how we started, but in the middle, we just started winging it, and it works.
Yeah. I love what you said about use what happens. One of my mentor speakers is Dr. Michael Beckwith, and like he'll be giving a sermon, and then all of a sudden a phone will ring or something like that, and he'll use it in his speech, and he'll be like,
Exactly.
and I know that you're getting that call to go even deeper into the truth of who you really are. So like
Right.
he'll use it. Christopher Howard, who was my NLP teacher,
Oh
the
yeah.
same way.
I've
Because
been to
the key thing is to never, and this is so important. I learned this in Toastmasters as well. Toastmasters, for those of you that don't know, is a nonprofit organization that helps you to increase your presentation skills, leadership, and communication skills. It's totally affordable. You can go to toastmasters.org if you're in LA. I'm a president of a group called the Synergy Speakers Toastmasters. We meet the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. And what I tell people, because oftentimes people will sign up for positions and then not show up. So when you're the Toastmaster, you're like the master of ceremonies. You never let people know that it isn't exactly as planned. You fake the funk. You just go with the flow. You don't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, so and so didn't show up, so I'm going to try to figure it out." You just say, "Oh, so and so volunteered." You know,
Oh yeah.
you never emphasize, and I've seen newer speakers do this, so I'm really wanting to make sure that people get this, is you never want to let them see you sweat. You never want to let them know that something has gone wrong. Like Cheryl said, use what happens. And when it comes to preparation, I agree that you absolutely have to have like an amazing introduction, because you will get them or lose them in the first 15 seconds. You need to have a memorable conclusion, because if you don't say something that stands out or do something, like I would end with the salsa dance, people wouldn't remember anything I said in the middle. Well, sometimes they would, but they would always remember the salsa dance decades later. Oh, I remember that salsa dance, right? So I would recommend practicing speeches in segments. So practice the intro as one segment, practice the ending as one segment. And I do bullets, but I also practice the in between, especially when I'm doing big keynotes, just because I know I only have 45 minutes or 22 minutes. And if I'm not on time, that's money. So, everyone has their own style. But I think what Cheryl is saying is so important because you want to allow the magic to happen. And the magic happens in the middle, like you said, in the unexpected. And because there's going to be things that come up that are unknown, and you want to allow space for that, right?
Definitely. And just like what Deb said, if you have never been to Toastmasters, run, do not walk to your closest Toastmaster, because you are going to learn things in Toastmasters that are going to help you through your entire career, because you get some gentle critiques of your speeches. You get to practice your speeches on people that will help you. What was that thing called where, Deb, when you have to you get a piece of paper and it's got a word on it, and you have to talk for like 3 minutes, just wing it on whatever
It's table topics.
what do they
Table
call
top.
it?
Table topics.
Table topics, right?
It's to
That
learn
was the most
extemporaneous.
nerve-wracking thing ever, but that was the best part of Toastmasters to me, was you would just get like, like a piece of paper that had the word door on it, and you had to talk for 3 minutes about a door and engage your audience about the door. That was the best thing ever.
Yeah, they do it a little different now where like they'll just ask you a question and you have to speak on it for 2 minutes. And what that teaches you is how to speak extemporaneously because in life, you don't always have time to plan a speech or have something. So you need to learn how to be articulate off the cuff, off the
Right.
so you're
Exactly.
able to really
You need to
communicate.
always be ready to give a speech, no matter what.
And that's another important thing because oftentimes you will get asked to speak at the last minute. And I
Yes.
know many of my clients will be like, or to do a TV show or TV program or something like that. And many people will feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. And I say if you're asked, you're ready. But what advice would you give to people when they're get invited to speak and it's last minute and they don't feel that they're prepared?
Just make sure that whatever you're speaking on, that you are passionate about, that you know the subject. It's a little bit harder, I think, to talk on a subject that you're not that knowledgeable about. So make sure that you're going for those type of jobs that you really know what you're doing, or what you're speaking about, and things that you're passionate about. But the thing is if you're passionate with your audience and helping the audience, it'll just come to you. So even if you don't know everything about the subject you're speaking on, you can still, just by connecting with the audience, they will connect with you.
Yeah, and there are some times that I will turn things down. I mean, if I feel that it's completely not my expertise, because when we're paid speakers, we're paid because we're experts on a certain topic. So if somebody were asking me to speak on a topic that I was not confident that I was the expert on, I would decline and recommend somebody else. Oh, I'm not the expert on human behavior, but Cheryl is. You should have her speak. That kind of thing. So I
Right.
think it's really important, like you said, to stay ready. One of my coaches, my mentor said, always have a keynote speech in your pocket. So if somebody were to ask you tomorrow to be on stage, you could do it. And then also know when to say no when it's not in your lane, because we want to stay in our lane as experts. Then we can refer to other people. And that's where being a part of like the National Speakers Association is great because you meet all these experts that you could refer to.
Well, that's another reason to listen to podcasts like this, to have people in your life like Deborah Deras, who is constantly helping you, with what to speak on and how to speak. And I mean, just keeping in that mind thought all the time, so that when somebody calls you and says, hey, can you speak at 2 o'clock this afternoon, you're like, okay, I can do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I recently turned down a speech because they wanted me in 10 minutes to talk about podcasting. I'm like, I couldn't even.
Oh, Deb, you could have done that. Come on.
You think I could have
with your
done it?
eyes with your eyes closed.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
You
maybe I
better,
was just irritated
you
because,
better, you better call me next time you think about turning down any of this stuff. Okay, call me.
well,
I'm gonna help you take care of that.
yeah, but I mean, there was a 2 hour workshop that I was an expert on, and they didn't call me for that. So I think it was more a political thing. So I was like, whatever, I'm not going to do it. And the other thing why I said no is at the end of the day, I am not trying to upsell podcasts. So if somebody's offering for me to speak for free, if it was paid, yeah, I would have gone. But if
Oh yeah,
someone is offering for me to speak for free and there's nothing for me to upsell in the back end, then there's no point
true.
unless I needed practice. You know what I mean? So
Right.
and that's I think a real good distinction. So the number one way that I book paid speaking engagements and that you said you did was through free engagements. But you have to speak specifically to the audience that can hire you for what you're an expert in. If you're going to be speaking on vegan cooking, but you're an expert at hypnotherapy, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, you could give a speech and look it up, but is that going to help you build your hypnotherapy business? No.
No,
So
and
you
if you are
really
going to
want to.
take if you're going to take free speaking engagements, which I do recommend, especially when you're starting out, but make sure that you are getting something out of it. Even more than just practice, you want to make sure that you get some leads, you get something towards another part of your business, at least get some email leads, something that will help you get to your next paid speaking engagement.
Exactly. So you have to ask yourself, is this getting me closer to my next paid speaking engagement or farther away? So there's one more burning question that I know a lot of people have asked me, and I know that you could help people with this. So I have a lot of clients that I work with that are like doctors, like medical doctors, and also engineers, and they're just like at the top level in their careers. They've been, they're excellent at what they do, but they have so much knowledge and they have unique knowledge that they want to share, but they're not used to being in the limelight. They're not used to being the center of attention. But at the same time, they believe that they're messengers for the message and want to get it out. How can they get rid of their fear of taking center stage and being in the limelight?
Again, it's all about just getting away from your own ego. Just
Mm,
get completely away from that anyone is going to be looking at you and judging you, and totally focus on what you want to deliver to your audience, what you want to deliver to the world, what purpose do you want. You wanted to be a speaker for some reason. It wasn't just to be adored by everyone. You want to help people. And if you have that focus that you're there to help them and you're there to give a message to them that will change their life in most cases, then that's what you focus on. What kind of message am I going to give to my audience that they're going to remember tomorrow? That they're going to remember next year, next week. And if all you're worried about is your own ego and what they're going to think of you, you won't be able to deliver that.
ooh, I love it. What do I always say, people? You already know this. Your ego is not
Your
your
amigo.
amigo. It's your enemigo, the enemy.
Enemigo. Okay. Well,
It's
not
the
yours.
enemigo. Yes, it's your enemigo. And if you are this is such a great distinction you made. Thank you. You're the first guest that ever brought this up, and it's so important. If you're listening to this podcast and you really want to speak just so that you can get attention, you should start a YouTube channel. You should
Yes.
start an Instagram, IGTV. The stage is not for you. The platform you want to be on is YouTube or Instagram. It's perfect for people that want attention, right? It's made for that. It's made for attention. If you're truly committed and inspired to make a difference, to change the world, to have your message resonating in your audience's conscious and subconscious mind today, tomorrow, the next day, then that's when you get on the stage. And when you shift your energy from you to them, there's going to be so much more relaxation. Just like literally the whole tenseness that you have in your body will relax because you're not, everybody loves helping people, right? You're
True.
not going to get, you're going to give. We love to give, we love to help, we love to share. And that's what we're here for. I really believe, Cheryl, that everybody has a message to share in this world and that now more than ever, with everything that's crazy in the world, is the time to get it out. Do you agree?
Definitely. And I think it's a good thing just to look at your audience, see them as like little children. Like most of the time when you're speaking about something, it's because you've got this experience and that you want to pass on to your audience, and you want them to avoid making some of the mistakes that you made. That's the reason that you're there, to help guide them. So, they always say, look at your audience like everyone's naked. No, look at them like they're all children that you're trying to teach, to help them avoid making the same mistakes that you made when you first started out.
Yes, and breathe. Did you hear me take that breath?
Oh, I always sit in my car for a good 5 minutes and just breathe and picture it all going well before I walk into the building, before you speak.
I knew you had another tool. I
Yeah,
knew
I
if
forgot
I
that one. I
if
forgot
I
that one, Jen.
paused long enough, I would get it out of you. Breathe. I mean, I actually went before I go downstairs. Usually, I'm at a hotel for a speech. I'll meditate, which is basically breathing for 10 minutes and just clearing my mind. I won't check my email. I won't check my text because I don't want to stress out, or
No,
my social media. On anything else, I am so single focused on the audience and how I can serve them, and all of my attention is there. And just, I love that you visualize everything going well. And even better than well, imagine it going beyond your wildest dreams. Not only did they love it, they gave you a standing ovation.
that's what
They're
I picture.
already
Standing ovation. They always give a
requesting
standing
you
ovation.
back for a second paid speaking engagement.
Yes,
There's consulting opportunities. The back of the room sales go well with all your books selling out. People want you for consultations. Just go on and on and on with the rampage of what is the best case scenario? What is the best case scenario? Because we usually, a lot of times, people will go to the worst case scenario. So we'll just flip the script and go to the best case scenario.
yes. And I doubt if we have time today, but the other thing I completely forgot to talk about is how to handle those hecklers, those people that think that they know more than you when you're speaking.
Tell us. We have
Okay,
time.
we have time. Okay, so you always want to, if someone, those people that always ask the question in the audience, and they already know the answer to it, but they just want to be heard. So, and they always ask that question, and to try to I call it one upping you. The first thing you always want to do is look at them and say, "Oh, that is such an excellent question, and I can tell that you really know your subject. I would love to speak to you. We don't really have time today, but I would love to speak to you after this. I'm going to come and find you." That's how I handle them.
Love it. And I mean, I've had people like, honestly, and you probably know the diagnosis better than me, that were like sincerely like narcissistic personality disorder. This was more in a workshop than a speaking. I was doing like a 2 hour YouTube workshop. And this guy was just like, he was just oppositional. He was disagreeing with me just to disagree.
Yeah,
And
just
then
interrupting you every 5 minutes. Yeah.
afterward, he was like, "Oh yeah, you're right about all that." I'm like, "Then, you know what I mean?" So the key that I learned from that is not to give any energy or attention into it,
But sometimes
because
you
they
have to. Sometimes they force you to give them the attention. So the way to handle it is just to give them a compliment about how much they know about the subject.
I think I learned that from you, Cheryl, because I don't
Probably.
even know how I know that. Yeah, because I had that situation quite a few times. But as soon as you compliment, "Oh yeah, you're so smart. You know everything about that. I should have you co-teach the
I would
class with me
love to
next time."
talk to you further later on today. I'm going to come and find you. I'm going to come and find you later because I really want to talk to you about that. You're going to be fascinating to talk to.
Yes, yes. But I have to tell you, for those of you that are more nervous than others, it's very rare that you get a heckler. I probably had two or three in 16, 17 years of speaking.
Right.
People, once you form rapport with them and you're focused on helping them and all the ways you can make their life happier, better, and easier, they're going to listen to every single word you say. They're going to lean in and just want to hear what you have to say. So, not to worry about that. In fact, like Cheryl said, we need to focus on them and not us. And just remember that our ego is not our amigo, and that we need to serve and help them so they will remember what we're saying the next day rather than thinking in our brain what is on the script, by just allowing ourselves to flow. I love how you said just flow in the middle and allow ourselves just to be in the moment so we can be available for that magic. So, how do you work with people, and how can people stay in touch with you if they want to get some private consultation with you or see you speak live? Where would they go?
Well, just, just contact me. You can contact me, or don't contact me on my email right now because it's not up, but contact me at Sheryl B. CHT, certified hypnotherapist. So it's Sheryl B. CHT at gmail.com. You can also give me a call anytime, 310-266-8514. You can come in for a session. If you need to get ready for an event that you have to do tomorrow, I can help you with that visualization, put you into hypnosis, help you see it going really well, help you with your speech even. We can take a look at it and helping you get past your ego so that you can really deliver the message that you want to deliver and not make it about you.
Yes.
And I think all my information will be up somewhere. Deb's got it, putting it up somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah,
So
show notes.
I
That's
will
it,
have
show
all
notes.
that show notes. Yes, that's podcast lingo for in the
Yes.
bottom. Yes. So I just want to thank you for all of those great tips. I've known Cheryl for probably a decade now, or maybe longer.
No, way longer than that, Deb. 20 years almost.
No,
Are we not telling our age, Deb? I'm sorry.
no. I meet you in 2008.
No.
That's no.
Really?
Yeah, I
Are
think
you
I met you in
sure? I thought
2000.
it was way before then.
It feels like
It
many
was at
lives in
least,
many
I think it was at
decades.
least 15 years ago.
Okay, could
It
be.
was about 15 years ago.
All right, if you say so. Yeah, 2006. It's like 12 years ago. Meet you in the middle, friend. And she's just always been such an amazing friend, such a great resource. She's always got great tools. She's just like a very, very kind hearted, beautiful soul. So I highly recommend, if you have any anxieties about speaking or you want to reduce any phobias or anything to transmute anything that's blocking you from being the best speaker you can. Because, like I said, I believe that you're the messenger for the message, and my soul's contract is to help you as experts to be abundantly paid to do what you love. And if being a paid speaker now is that, then more power to you. So I look forward to seeing you or to being with you on the next episode. And if you love this podcast, please write a review. You can give us 5 stars and say that you love it so that iTunes will recognize it, pop it to the top, so that more people can hear about us and that we can have people in the world that are living in alignment and on purpose. So, this is Deborah Deras, your host of Be a Paid Speaker Now, reminding you that with the power of synergy, anything is possible. See you the next time. Ciao. Thanks for tuning in. Join us next week for more juicy secrets to get you paid to hit that stage. If you would like to grab my free ebook on how to be a confident speaker, go to www.deborahderas.com/speaknow. And remember, you are the messenger for the message. See you next week.